What's up, you guys? This is Marvin
Amber.
and Liberty's Inside, and we're
With
with the
the
family.
family.
We appreciate you guys taking a few minutes to chit chat with us. We wanted to kind of talk with you guys about everything going on. Firstly, let you guys know that we're good. You may have seen on the news, there's a lot going on here in the city of Atlanta, but God has kept his hand on us, keeping us safe. My hope and my prayer is that you're safe wherever you are watching this. And, we just want to talk with you guys about everything going on. Firstly, I have some, like I was telling Babe this not too long ago, that I feel like everything went south after Kobe Bryant died.
Yeah.
Because first that happened, then we've had several deaths, obviously, known and unknown, and then Corona, and then we had Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, I believe is her name, and then lastly, the gentleman in Minneapolis, and Mr. George Floyd, I think, was the straw that broke the camel's back, at least in recent memory. And we just kind of want to talk with you guys about our thoughts with everything and, what we're doing, during this period.
Yeah, definitely. Like Babe was saying, I mean, clearly we've been having a lot of these murders to our Black people happen over and over and over again. Yeah. I think the fact that we are all quarantined for the most part, and the fact that all these killings keep happening back to back to back. Like I told Babe, it seemed like within maybe a couple of weeks to a month, we just kept hearing of different people, that were being murdered by these police or by these, racist people.
Yeah.
And there may be others that we don't even know about. And so I think because of all the tension that we've all been kind of feeling anyway, with not being able to resume life as we've known it, I think like it took what's the word?
It came to a head.
It came to a head, yeah, where, I don't know. For me, like I'm trying not to. For me, before we had lived, I would always talk to Babe about our culture and just all the things that we have endured. And it honestly made me question whether I wanted us to even have a child.
Oh, yeah.
Children.
I remember that.
Yeah. I don't regret the decision, of course, to have her. It is very challenging, though, to constantly have to talk to her constantly about race. We're the type of parents where we've been talking to Libby about who she is, her identity as a little African girl. When I say African, I'm speaking of Black people all over the world. Little girl, and we just exposed her to it because we know the world that we live in, and we did not want to do her a disservice. Thankfully, she's a kid, so a lot of the stuff that's going on is like, it's not really affecting her. She does have a lot of questions. She's wondering, well, why are these people this way? Why are they doing it? Oh my goodness, we've showed her some videos that we feel are not inappropriate for her, and she has a lot of questions. So that's the first thing that I've been feeling, outside of the fact that I'm married to a Black man, and that me, myself, am Black, and we have our daughter, and then I have brothers, and I have brother-in-laws, I have my dad,
I have brothers, I have uncles, I have cousins. It's all boys in my family. We have no sisters. And I will say, for me, even more recently, it's really been a lot of anxiety that I've personally been dealing with. One night, we always play hooky and we just be up. Watching TV or doing other things. But I'm sorry.
I'm gonna get you, babe.
But okay, the baby's sleep. That's our time.
Go time.
Mm-hmm. But seriously though, I was up. I've been having a tough time sleeping these last few nights. Yeah. And like, babe would turn to me and be like, "Is everything okay?" And I didn't really know how to verbalize the fact that I wasn't able to sleep. But when I thought about it the next morning, I realized that, that was really when all of the stuff was going down with Mr. Floyd, and just the constant videos, everything. I think I saw it posted on LeBron James' Instagram page that, racism isn't getting worse, it's just getting documented. Yeah. And it's seeming like that's really not making that big of a difference as far as repercussions from it. But just seeing the video in question with Mr. Floyd losing his life, saying, "Hey, I can't breathe," which made me think immediately of when that happened previously with the gentleman in New York that was selling cigarettes, Eric Gardner, thank you. And him saying he couldn't breathe, and the officer was just kind of like, just very, very nonchalant about it. And I looked at that gentleman and I said, man, that could be anybody that I know, that could be me. And to add insult to injury, it turns out that the guy, had come from Houston. He was in Minneapolis, but apparently he was going back and forth for work. And he also looks like one NBA player that I knew named Steven Jackson. Yeah. But this thing is just kind of playing out over and over and over again. And it doesn't seem like there's anything that's happening different. Whenever these situations come up where a person is saying, "Hey, I can't breathe," or whatever the case is, he was obviously subdued. And the fact that he was even arrested for what they're saying was him giving a fake 20 or a fake check or whatever the case was, I don't really believe that required the amount of force that ultimately caused Mr. Floyd's demise. And when I move around, I like to consider myself a very articulate person. I like to consider myself a very learned person, but I feel like for me, it's a defense mechanism. It's more, I think the word is code switching, where, of course, I'm from Houston, Texas, based from Dallas, Texas. Yeah. We have a certain Southern drawl, but when you move around in certain spaces and, folks know what I'm talking about, there's a certain way that you talk and you articulate. And in my mind, I feel like if I'm the most articulate, if I feel like I'm the most learned, if I can have a conversation with anybody about everything, surely that's going to make me less of a threat or less of a target. But we know that really doesn't mean anything to a racist. People are going to see you how they choose to see you. First impressions tend to happen before a person even opens their mouth. Yeah. And if you're not even given an opportunity to show that you're not a threat, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. And when that individual that has the ability to take your life is in a position of power where their job allows them to take a life. I saw this on social media. They said, what other job do you know that you can take a life and just lose your job from it? Wow, yeah. Versus something worse happening. You just lose your job.
Lose your job, or just get fired or suspended while the investigation is ongoing.
Right. And I feel like I have to move around a little bit differently. I hate that. I hate where I was leaving the house the other day, as a matter of fact, to go pick up something from the store, and I had a muscle shirt on, and babe was like, "You gonna change your shirt?" And I'm like, at first I was like, "Is it because I'm showing too much skin?" Or, I'm like, "You bought me this shirt." So it was like a regular old workout shirt. Yeah. And what did you say, sweetie?
No, I said he didn't look safe enough. I felt like he could be like victimized because of his appearance. Because usually, you know, like when we leave out, he's covered up and stuff. And Babe does have a tattoo, which, I mean, a lot of people have tattoos, but I just felt very insecure. I'm just being honest. And like, if anybody's pro-Black in our marriage, I think that sometimes I kind of take the honor on that one. But even with me, y'all, like, I'm like, you know, I don't want anything to happen to my husband. And I've always felt that way. You know, I always pray for him when he leaves the house. It's just like, here recently, it just has me like nervous. Yeah.
Liberty just came by, but you know, I was like scratching my head, just wondering. I'm like, why? You know, what are you you know, what was the deal? I didn't get it. And not only do we have to worry about Corona, and Babe has us, you got your mask? Did you wash your hands? All that, you know, which is a killer that you can't see, or a possible killer that you can't see, depending on your pre-existing conditions. But now people that look like me have to worry also about losing your life because someone sees you as a threat.
Exactly. Still in this climate, like, we already knew that was the case, but you would think with this pandemic going on, like, you know, we're not worried about that, because people are, you know, trying to make sure they're staying safe, trying to make sure other people are staying safe. Like, we don't have to deal with that. Naive of us, you know. And then here we are, you know, 4, 5, 6 of our people later.
And counting, you know, the list. We're just talking about 2020. This has been going on. People have been getting killed. You know, I know Trayvon Martin. I don't know if he was the first in higher levels. In recent years. Yeah, I think he was one of them. Like, outside of Amadou Diallo. Remember, that was a while back in New York, but I think more recent, I would say, Trayvon probably was, you know, the beginning of seeing our Black men in particular being murdered by racists, you know, whether that's come forming an everyday racist or a policeman, you know, that's a racist. And, you know, I just can't help but feel like, because I know not all police officers are bad. I mean, we of course we know that. And I'm not talking to the good police officers. Thank you for what you do. I'm only speaking to the folks that, you know, they had nefarious reasons for wanting to become a police officer because it gave them a certain level of power. You know, a lot of these folks that are the bad ones, you know, they were the ones that got bullied in school. They were the ones that were the nerds or the dweebs or whatever, that says, you know what, I'm going to take a job that gives me the power, power to do whatever I want in their mind, because they're able to hide behind that badge in a lot of instances. And when we are dealing with a society that does not penalize certain individuals, it does look like the not good officers have a pass to do whatever they want to do. And I feel like on a political level, like, that's got to change, because when you start hitting folks in their pockets, start taking these pensions away, start doing things that show that excessive force should be the last thing that you do. Shooting to kill should be the last thing that you do. When there are a number of things that you can do without taking a person's life, something's got to change. Something's got to change. And folks are showing it now that, you know, they're tired. I'm tired. Like, I'm tired of turning on the news and seeing another Black man dying. And when there was a little period that it hadn't happened, like, the fact that I was surprised, I was like, oh, wow, nobody's died today. Nobody's died in this last month, last 90 days. And surely because of social distancing, folks aren't going to lose their life. And then I started seeing, you know, folks in New York, you know, were getting harassed due to Corona, because they wanted people to social distance, but they were getting in people's faces. Some of the officers, it makes no sense. Yeah, it makes zero sense, y'all. And as you guys know, you know, we are definitely people of faith. And so we have been
like asking God, like what is our role in this situation? Like, what should we be doing? Because we know that racism is real. We see it every day. And we also know that God is bigger than all of this.
Right.
And we just want to know, well, where do we fit into all of that? Like how,
Right.
like, what is the plan, God? You know, like help us, show us what do we need to do, you know, in order to make things different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? From our perspective anyway.
Yeah.
We just, I don't know. Like I was telling Babe, I just really don't know. I know that we've been blessed to go to a church where
Our pastor's speaking out against it.
Yeah, he's speaking out against it. And they have been for not just now, for years, talking about
racial reconciliation.
Yes, racial reconciliation, and you know, especially among obviously Black people and white people, which has been the biggest divide. Yeah. And so it's just it's very challenging. I mean, thank God for Jesus, because if we didn't have our faith, who knows? You know, who knows? Yeah. Like for real.
And we say that in the sense that, you know, many of you may not share the faith that we share, but we would give you a suggestion to look in the scripture and see what the Bible says about the times that we're dealing with right now. I think about the Egyptians that persecuted the Jews in scripture in the Old Testament, and how they were subjugated for 400 plus years in the duality with, of course, American slavery, and that being a 400-year period. And now, fast forward, we were dealing with Jim Crow, and then now we're dealing with what appears to be anti-Black racism that's going on. And my belief is that just like God delivered the Jews in that period from all of that, we gonna be all right. We gonna make it. We gonna make it. What we can control, in my personal opinion, is where you put your resources. You know, where you spend your money. How much are you planning for your emancipation, you know, if you desire to become an entrepreneur and control your narrative, because a lot of us work around folks that we don't even know might have racist views toward us. You know, why did you get skipped over for that promotion? Is it possible that that hiring manager just frankly looks down on you simply because of your color? What are you doing to free yourself in that capacity? To start your own business, to go do something else, to control your destiny, versus dealing with having to have those, what I've heard, microaggressions, where you're dealing with a certain energy that you know it's only you that's being targeted. You know, I'm blessed that, you know, my career choice allows me to work independently. I work from home for the most part. But I know that when I move in certain spaces, I know that I'm looked at a certain kind of way.
There's an energy.
There's an energy
that, you know, we've both experienced, which many of us have experienced when you're in different environments outside of yourself and your culture, you know. And
I think that's, we can do something about that with our dollars, with our resources. You know, for the longest time, I was like, look, we ain't fooling with no guns. But we've been having a conversation that, you know what, we have a Second Amendment right to bear arms. And that's something that we're exploring as well. Because I am the head of the household. My babe is the co-head of the household. But I need to be able to protect my family from any and all intruders. And they say it all the time. I remember it was a rap song. Somebody let me know in the comments, but I would rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Wow.
And I say all that to say that I hate violence. I hate guns. I've only held a gun in my hand a handful of times in my entire life, but I see now it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, unfortunately. So that's some of the things that we can control, where we spend our dollars, how we allocate our resources. what we're learning, what we're putting inside of our spirit on a regular basis. And a lot of times, guys, you might have to get off of social media, especially if it's just, you know, just getting so too heavy on your spirit. Don't poison yourself even further by consuming that negativity. You take what you need and you move accordingly.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was just thinking, babe, as you were talking about, you know, just like disliking violence and stuff like that, that made me think about a lot of the protests and riots that are taking place. Yeah. And, you know, like, we're not violent people. You know, we don't deliberately go out to hurt people. My babe mentioned it earlier. People are tired. People are very upset. And I think along with just the climate that we're in, and then all of the killings that have happened as of recent, you know, people, they just got a lot going on, especially emotionally, I feel. And I feel that it's making people like spaz out. Yeah. And, you know, I don't agree with looting and taking stuff and all of that. No. At the same time, I'm not judging those people for anything that they're doing, because you don't know what people are dealing with. You know, like, I don't feel like it's our place to just really come down and be so rough on people. You don't know what people are dealing with.
Folks are tired.
Like, people are angry. People are upset. Yeah. And, you know, the Bible does say, be angry, but sin not. You know, some of these people, they just ain't there. So the best thing that we can do, instead of ridiculing them and, you know, so on and so forth, is just pray for them to be able to still, you know, you can be angry, you know, and just find a better way to express that, you know. You know, I told babe, you know, before we had lived, like, you know, we would definitely be in the streets. It's a little bit different now for us having a child. There are some people, you know, that may feel different, but with us, it's different. You know, we're her protector, so we definitely wouldn't want to put her in harm's way. No. You know,
I heard on the news, it was a young lady that was pregnant and was out protesting, and she ended up miscarrying because she got stomped on by police, or I believe it's police, or other protesters. For whatever reason, she got trampled on and ended up losing her child.
Wow, man, that's crazy.
And you know, I can understand in one perspective wanting to show your children, hey, look at this unjust stuff going on. But you just have to be smart. Yeah. And you have to also realize that although you mean well in a crowd of protesters, there are people that don't mean well and could care less that it's a child or children that are involved and will do whatever to make the situation go from bad to worse. Exactly. So you may have to show your children what's going on the TV. Yeah. There's plenty of video on social media to have those conversations. Like they were saying, we've been having those conversations with Liv ever since all of this started going down. And that's so that she is aware of the world that we live in and how she's going to need to navigate it. I used to be like, one of the reasons I was thankful we had a daughter was because I was like, well, if we had a son, you know, I would have to teach him this is how you move around other colors, you know, that are in positions of power. But, you know, with what happened to Brianna, what happened to Sandra Bland out in PV.
It's another young lady. I cannot think of her name, Corinne or something.
Yeah, and that's terrible. There's so many names that we're forgetting, but even as a young lady, we're gonna have to show her how to move around law enforcement, how to, you know, and it's disingenuous when I hear folks say, well, you know, if you just comply, you'd be fine. A person that's racist that wants to take your life, or a person who wants to take your life, period, and just so happens to be racist, there's any justification that can be used. So it really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Because I've seen folks cuss police officers out.
Of other races, non-black.
Cuss police officers slap out. And you know, with the Dylan Roof boy, you know, when they caught him and they just walked him out, and I remember reading that they went and took him to go get something to eat before taking him to jail. So, you know, there's something called cognitive dissonance where there are some individuals that are taking their head in the sand approach and just don't want to hear that the world is as jacked up as it really is.
Yeah.
And I would caution our allies out there to have these conversations with the people that look like you, because the people that look like us, we already know how we need to move and what we need to do. But it's going to take you guys talking to your family and friends that are ignorant, willfully ignorant to the situation, to really make change.
Exactly.
Because this is going to get worse.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, you know, we all have a role to play in this. Yeah. And just because you are not of African descent doesn't mean you don't have a role to play, especially when you know that your culture is basically the ones doing it, you know. And that's the reason why, going back to our church, why we appreciate our church so much, because like we've been having like prayer meetings talking about the issue. We have two of our lead pastors at our church are African American, and then African American on staff, and so they basically came together with the other leadership, which were white, to basically to listen, you know, and to hear and not tell us how to deal with our pain. Exactly. Which is the worst thing. Yeah. A person who doesn't look like the people that are being affected right now. Yeah. Don't tell people how to deal with their pain. That is disingenuous, and it's just it doesn't. You make the situation worse. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think like because I've kind of struggled before, like, you know, as a believer, it's just kind of like, you know, Lord, I know we're supposed to love our enemies and things of that nature. And then I know to do that. However, I've struggled also with knowing that there has to be justice too. So it's kind of like, just because I'm choosing to, let's just say, I'm choosing not to do to you what you're doing to me, there's still a huge issue that needs to be resolved. Because if it's not, you're going to see what you're seeing all around the world right now, which is people that are spazzing out. People are just going, you know, crazy. And, you know, like, do we really blame them when nothing's being done? You know what I'm saying? Thank God that we have a sound mind, and thank God that we do have some restraint, and that we do have, for lack of a better word, an excuse, our daughter, you know. But we angry too. Yeah, we're upset too. We're pissed off. Yeah, definitely. Constantly seeing this. Constantly seeing it. And the anxiety that I feel if I'm at a light and a police officer pulls up. I was telling Babe, you know, I go running in the mornings at a nearby park, and while I was stretching, you know, there was a police officer that pulled in front of me. It was weird because I didn't make eye contact. I didn't even look in the car, but his car sat there for a moment while I was just stretching, and I was near some cars, so I'm just like, you know, why is this officer right here? You know, why is he was there for a noticeable period of time to where I was like, is he looking at me? Is he, you know, is he checking me out? And I'm literally stretching. I'm a runner, so I'm stretching. And the anxiety that I'm talking about, every black man feels it when the police are behind you, on the side of you, or just around you in any capacity. Whether I got a suit on, whether I got plain clothes, my heartbeat races. Babe will ask me, why are you driving a certain kind of way? And she said it for years, and every time there's a police officer, and I've never had any negative run-ins with the law. No, never been arrested or anything. Never been arrested. It's funny because when I first met Babe, now I grew up with brothers, but I didn't start driving until much later. No. And so I didn't really understand all that. I'm used to taking the city bus, the train. Wow. And so when we first started dating, it would happen all the time, where as soon as we see a police officer, Babe would literally freeze up. And so I really began to understand, like, I knew that, you know, I knew there were issues, but I didn't really understand what it really, really, really looked like, really, until we started dating, because I would just see him literally freeze up. And like he said, I would be like, why are you driving like that? And then, but after a while, all I had to do was look around, and then I knew. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, it shouldn't be that way. It really shouldn't. And that's what we we want you guys as African people, we want you guys to understand, those of you that are not us, we want you to understand that these are things that we deal with daily.
Yeah.
These are things that we deal with daily, that we have to even think about. That the fact that our 7-year-old knows about racism, and she been knowing about it. Like, it's nothing new. She, like, why do we have to have this conversation with her? Like, why did we have to have it? Why does she, you know, why do we have to prepare her in such a way?
Yeah.
You know, and that's the reason why, like Babe was saying, like, we need everybody to jump in. You know what I'm saying?
We need all hands on deck.
Yes.
All hands on deck.
Yep.
Yeah. Or else this will get worse.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to imagine what worse means.
Me either, because this is already like horrible.
But you know, all the stuff going on here in Atlanta, the looting, the stuff going on in California, Minneapolis,
everywhere,
Houston, our hometown. Folks are tired, man.
Yeah.
So the answer to this is very, very simple. It's going to take political engagement on the local level, on the state level, to find out who's in charge of your local government. Ask them what are their plans for, you know, making sure that excessive force with the police department isn't an issue. What are the parameters that the police officer is supposed to follow when engaging someone that they see as a threat? Do they have body cameras? You know, what are those accountability parameters? Because I can almost guarantee you that when you start putting some eyeballs on law enforcement, the good ones are going to already move the right way anyway. It's the bad ones that's going to have to tighten up and start flying right. Yeah. And those are only ones that we're speaking to are the bad ones. But outside of that, pray about it, consider it, you know, as it relates to dealing with just people in general, you know, getting you a gun, you know, getting you a gun to deal with the crazies if you ever have to protect your household. I'm gonna put it like that. Protect your household, protect your family. That's your first requirement as a man, is to make sure that your family is protected. So I think that once we do those two things, the things that we can control, we just gotta give it to God and continue to stay vigilant, continue to stay prayerful, continue to lead with love, of course, but nobody's a doormat. Yeah. Nobody's a doormat.
Exactly, yeah, for sure. And then, you know, like Babe was mentioning a moment ago, as it relates to, like, you know, finding out the different laws and things like that, and just, you know, making ourselves more knowledgeable and aware of what's going on. A lot of times we don't know
how to move around the police. You know, if you get pulled over, what to say, what not to say. You know, am I being detained? That statement alone is a very powerful statement when dealing with law enforcement, because if they tell you you're not being detained, you're free to go. And that's law. And you know, you just gotta learn your laws.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we just need for these crooked police officers, and they're the like of, we need for them to be investigated, and we need for them to be put away.
Yeah, to the fullest extent of the law.
At the end of the day, because, you know, and then we need people that are in the law enforcement, we need them to step up and to be like, XYZ, you know, person is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, because that's where a lot of the issues is coming from. Because I for the life of me, I could not understand, if you see someone's pleading for their life, not only are you murdering this person, but then the people just standing by, like
it was nothing.
Where is your humanity that you? I just don't. I can't comprehend that. I can't understand why we're just standing by watching. You know, it's just like if you see a fight, for example, you know, you see some people fighting in a grocery store or something like that. You just sit there and you just let the people fight. You know what I'm saying?
No, we live in a society that, you know, folks just pull out their camera phone. At some point, somebody's gonna have to do something.
Exactly. And I'm not, and the people that were recording, these were civilians. I'm talking about them police officers that was with them. Because with the civilians, all I could imagine in my head is thinking, well, shoot, if they doing this to him, they're gonna do it to me too. But I'm saying it's something that we can do. You know, even if it's getting, you know, like if you're at the store, some people fight, get a manager. You know, try to get someone bigger than you. You know, we just have to think on our toes and
get involved in some capacity. Get involved, be safe, get involved in some capacity, because we just our world is not looking too hot right now. America's not looking too hot right now. I'm not saying that we gonna run away and move to a foreign country, but you better make sure you got your passport. If it get a little hot and you just need to kind of take a step away and go somewhere else, are you able to freely do that? So, do you have your money right? Are you saving? That way you can move around. Our neighbor, if you can move around if you need to, just those are the things that you can do.
Yeah, definitely.
Those are the things you can do. If you see something, say something.
Exactly. So what are you guys' thoughts on everything that's been going on? Like, how are you feeling? Like, do you feel that we're overreacting in the things that we've said? Do you feel like respectfully that that the people that are doing all the protesting and the rioting and stuff like that, do you think that they're wrong? Like, what are your thoughts? We're interested in knowing how you feel about it. And I think moving forward, I know there's a petition that's out that I'm believing that we could sign to help get the
I think it's on change.org.
The officers make sure that they're getting that they're getting prosecuted. And then other than that, like I said, we just been praying, like, Lord, what else can we do, like on our end, to be able to help. We felt like, within our household, we're teaching Liv, in the best way we know how to, just about our culture, and just kind of like, just the unfortunate things that are happening to many of our people. But it just has to be more. Yeah. It just has to be more. So we're just following everything and just seeing what we can do from our end, to be able to make things better, Yeah,
change is gonna come. I'm optimistic. I believe, because I believe that God don't let ugly happen for very much longer. He ain't gonna let ugly happen for very much longer. So, let us know what you think, needs to happen. Let us know how you plan to get involved. Let us know how you plan to educate yourself and protect your family as needed. And let's get the discussion going. So I wanted to wait because I didn't want to jump on or even give the appearance that we were trying to catch some kind of wave with everything going on, because my heart been heavy. I ain't really had nothing to say. I've just been very, very able to tell you, just getting our finances right, studying, reading. She's been sending me, the word of the day, just keeping that encouragement going. But I've just been really, really, just making sure if we need to make moves, boom, 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 this is how we can do it. But yeah, so you got anything else?
Nope.
All right, y'all. Till the next video, this is Marvin,
Amber,
and Liberty's Inside,
and we're with the family. Y'all stay blessed.
All right, y'all.
Bye.